Loneliness has become a bigger problem for my generation, with Gen Z reporting that out of all the generations that we have been able to survey, we are the loneliest. Connection feels far and in between. It seems as if people aren't as social as generations prior. Neighbors rarely greet each other anymore. Parks, playgrounds are usually empty. Classes have become more isolating because everybody's absorbed into their devices. Something is wrong here. If my generation grew up in the 90s, things would have been different. Now, I'm not saying that the 90s, 80s, 70s, and 60s were better. They obviously weren't because, racism. But what I am saying is although there were many issues with eras prior, there's one issue that other generations did not face, and that was the issue of community. Most people had a group they belonged to, a healthy social circle, and when they didn't, well, that's how we got gangs. But in all seriousness, older generations had more healthy social circles than we do today. Where did things go wrong? Why do people feel lonelier than ever? Where did connection go? Well, if you give me the time of day, I hope to explain the reasons why things are like this. So, ladies and gentlemen, get cozy in your computer chair, get comfy in your bed, grab your snacks, and welcome to the Loneliness Crisis. We are the most connected generation ever. I can call my friends in an instant, send messages whenever, get instant information, watch endless entertainment, experience various beautiful art forms, all from the palm of my hand. So how is it that even though we are so connected, we are the generation that feels the loneliest? The answer is that online connection is oftentimes superficial. The streamer loves their viewers on the condition that they monetize them. The same with the YouTuber, the IG model, the podcaster, the TikToker. All of these media forms trick your brain into thinking that you are entering a social environment, but you're not. So when you even think about trying to socialize, trying to talk to someone new, you settle for opening your phone and scrolling, because at this point, it's habit, it's simple, and it's easy. In settings that would normally be full of energy, socializing, constant conversation, people are now silently scrolling, playing games, or working on their devices. It's a constant consumption of media, whether it be scrolling through short or long form videos, looking at memes,
Man, I'm dead.
mobile games, console games, PC games, music, podcasts. It's much more rare to see people sit down, put their technology away, and talk to someone new. With all the benefits that technology brings, there is one truth that still remains. Technology distracts us from experiencing the world around us. If you're always on your phone, you will constantly be distracted from the world around you. If you're constantly inside gaming, you won't have time or space in your life to have good social interactions. When was the last time you just woke up and listened to the silence? You didn't reach for your phone. You didn't reach for your iPad. You didn't go to your console. You just woke up and listened to the silence. You just let your brain process you waking up. When was the last time you went from class to class and you didn't have a headphone in and you weren't like looking down at your phone all the time? When was the last time you walked into your class and you tried to have a conversation with someone instead of just sitting down, seeing everybody else on their phone, putting an AirPod in or putting your headphones on and just scrolling? For some, they may have had a conversation today. They may have woken up and didn't reach for their phone. But for others, it may have not been the case. I know personally, it's been a long time since I've last had a conversation with someone new. And that's because either the people around me are on their phones and are distracted, or I'm on my phone or my devices and I'm distracted. And that tech barrier is just enough to prevent a person from interacting with me and prevent me from interacting with a person. When jobs take away time from their employees, it can make people feel lonely. People used to have free time on the weekends, so they would meet people, go hang out, go to restaurants, and visit cool spots in their community. But now, people are swamped by work. The cost of living has gone up and wages have not followed, so people have to work more to survive. And as a byproduct of working more, people have less time to spend with others. People end up being too tired to go to events, too tired to be social, and too tired to go out. So they end up with less social opportunities. And having a lack of social opportunities leads to people being lonelier. And it does not help when work environments are not enjoyable. Most jobs do not encourage camaraderie. So workers end up working alone and silently. But it doesn't just affect single workers. It affects families. There was a time where one household income was enough to provide for an entire family. During that time period, mothers used to take their kids to the playground or to libraries, and the kids would socialize while the mothers would socialize with each other. So it would create a community. Families would feel connected. Kids would play with other kids. Women would talk with other women. And while the men were working, they would socialize at work. So we had a full circle of community. Fathers used to have time on the weekends on top of that, because when it was the nuclear structure, you would only work 40 hours, and usually you would have weekends off, or you would have a day off or 2 days off. And that was okay, because you could work 40 hours, earn minimum wage, and still provide for your family. You didn't have to worry about working overtime. Now, since dual income has become the norm, those experiences are far and in between. And now social skills of everyone can be affected. Our generation was the generation that had both parents working. Our parents had to work because if they didn't, we wouldn't have food on the table. And because of this, our entire family unit missed out on key experiences. A lot of us were left at home to entertain ourselves, missing out on these crucial social moments. Now, I know that mainly applies to white boomers, but even in the Black community, we saw a strong sense of community. And if there was not a healthy social circle, we saw a lot of young Black men turn to gangs for some semblance of socializing. And that's dangerous. That's where we see the negative, bad, unhealthy social circles develop. When parents cannot provide for their children, when parents feel they have to work more to provide for their children, and you leave children alone to their own devices, things can go wrong because they are lonely and they will seek any way for validation and social experiences. The way Gen Z was raised is fundamentally different than the way previous generations were raised. The world in which our parents were raised was more dangerous, violent, and discriminatory. Crime happened a lot more frequently, and assaults of all kinds were commonplace. The world was generally unsafe. So when our parents became adults and had children, they wanted to create a safer environment for their children. But in doing so, they may have stifled their social life. Or parents were too busy working and didn't have enough time to raise their child. And that also affects the way you socialize. I remember being 13 and 14, and my parents were stricter when I was younger. So it may have stifled the way that I socialize. And I don't blame them for wanting to keep me safe, because that's my parents' job. I love you, Mom and Dad. I know you're watching. Aww. But there is no doubt that the way I was raised may have affected the way I socialize with other people, and the way that they were raised may have affected how they socialize with other people. Social experiences affect how you're socialized. If you have a negative experience, you are more likely to be less social. You get rejected by your crush once, and you're constantly afraid of rejection. You get into a fight when you're a kid, and it messes with your head terribly as you get older. You get bullied when you're young, your self-esteem will be low, and you will feel no value for yourself. But if you have positive social experiences, it will completely affect the way you socialize. If you're constantly reassured about your ability, you will grow up an overconfident kid with the idea that you can conquer the universe. You get a lot of reassurance from the opposite gender, you will feel good about yourself. So how do positive and negative experiences affect loneliness? Well, if you are treated terribly by your peers, a negative social event, you will want to retreat from socializing. You will not want to be social. So the less social you are, the less opportunities for connection. You see, when you have a bad experience, your brain is trained to run away from pain. Bars. Your brain is trained to run away from pain. Your amygdala is going to send a response to your brain like, oh, this is not good, this is not good. Run away, retreat, retreat, retreat. So you will end up being more lonely because of those negative experiences. I have a whole video about how fear affects us and how to overcome fear, so you may want to check that out. I've heard this complaint, and I feel the need to echo this. If you're not going to a club, if you're not in school, and if you're not going to a church, it will be impossible for you to socialize. And this statement is 100% correct. Libraries are not as accessible as they used to be. Parks are not well maintained. Bookstores seem to be a thing of the past. Cafes where people used to meet up, places where people used to meet up and socialize, are now less commonplace. People just come and get their order and leave. Many areas where people once socialized have become more individualistic or things of the past. In the great search for individual liberty, people have forgotten the value of community. And because of this, we have less areas to be communal. Okay, I'm going to be 100% real. The solutions that I'm giving are not easy, and they might be cheesy, and they're not a magical solution that make you Mr. or Mrs. Popular. But what they are is an attempt to find an individual solution to a societal problem. Because to start a movement, it takes one person. I mean, it took one man to effectively change how we view history. This man split history down the middle. All you need is one person to start a change.
Now, I'm going to be real. These solutions that I provide, or I really should be calling them tips, are not easy. And they're not some, I'm going to solve all your problems. I'm not going to fix everything in a single day. But like everything, it is a process of becoming more and more social. Because in reality, we're just lonely because we have reduced social interaction and a lack of connection. So the way to increase those connections are doing things that make you more social. So I'm going to list some ways to become more social. First thing you should do is put down your technology. We're in a world that we're shrouded by tech all the time. You usually have your AirPod in, some headphones. You may have your Apple Watch, your Fitbit, whatever. You're always looking at some form of technology. Always. So you're going to have to get used to just sitting down and not having any tech in. You're going to have to embrace the awkward silence. Once you do that, it'll open up more space for people to interact with you. Let's say there's a person who has been looking at you but notices that you're closed off or cut off because you always got your headphones in, or you always got something in your ear or something that you're looking at. You removing that one barrier makes it a lot easier for them to open up to you, for them to want to speak to you instead of you being secluded. Okay, the second thing you should do is start cold approaching people. I know cold approaching is a term used like in the pickup artist and red pill community, but I mean it in the sense of like just going up to people and starting conversations. Now, I'm not gonna act like this is super easy. Like, yeah, I'm gonna just go up to people and they'll automatically want to be friends with me, because that's ridiculous. Nobody, um, nobody has to be friends with you just because you walk up to them. But I think that when you put yourself in a scenario where you're talking with someone, where you're going up to people, more social opportunities means more opportunities for connection, and more opportunities for connection means less chances to be lonely. This This tip is gonna feel very. This tip, hey yo, what I was about to say is crazy. I was gonna say this tip is gonna feel very unnatural. Hey yo, this step, when you put it into action, is going to feel very unnatural because your brain is designed to fear the unknown. Your amygdala is like, ah, I'm so scared. Ah. So you have to resist the temptation to just want to run away, and you're going to have to stay strong and put yourself in social scenarios that keep you grounded, but also could lead to making new friends. Because if you're not having any new social interactions, it's more likely that you will not be making friends. Another benefit is once you are better at speaking with people, you can speak to anyone at that point. Once you build up this skill, because that's what it is, it's a skill, you become so good at speaking. The third step you should take is try to form a part of a physical community. Like join a club, join a church, a school club or a football club or any type of group event, group setting where you're consistently meeting up with people so that you could have social interaction. I would recommend joining a church because Christ's Lord, but you should join these communities because it gives you a sense of belonging, and every human needs that sense of belonging. You need a group that you belong to. Back in the Ooga Booga days, right? We used to live in tribes, and you had all the social action. Bird, will you shut up? You had all the social interaction that you needed from your tribe. But now, since we live in smaller nuclear family units most of the time, sometimes single parent households and single child households, it's very different and much harder to socialize with the outside world. So clubs bring that sense of belonging, of unifying. It's beautiful to have one purpose, a group of people that is united for one purpose and out there for your benefit. It's not like they want to hurt you. Usually in a club, y'all all have the same goal and y'all care about each other. I just saw a blue jay fly by. I just saw another one. Step number 4, you have to learn to love people. Now, that sounds very vague and philosophical, but it's true. It's something that you have to change. It's a mindset change, not just a physical action change. You have to stop thinking that all people are terrible and that all people want to do is hurt you. You have to stop thinking that there's no point in talking to people because people are boring or people are this or people are that. You have to stop thinking that way. You have to learn that people can be good, that person is made in the image of the living God. That person is an image bearer just like you, and they have their own experiences, their own humor, their own emotions, feelings, just like you do. And that in itself should be beautiful, that you can relate to a person on what they have experienced before. And step 5 ties in directly to step 4. Drop your guard. I know this is really, really difficult, but look at me. Not everyone in life wants to hurt you. I know it's shocking, right? Not everyone that you meet is out to get you. Not everyone that you meet wants to hurt you. Give people chances. Learn to be hurt. But you have to drop your guard if you want people to come in, people to step into your life. Because if you have a guard up, you're not going to want to approach people. If you have your guard up, you won't be able to connect in your community because your guard stops you from making connections. You're never vulnerable with people. You never share experiences. You're just surface level, and you bottle up every experience and emotion you have and you keep it in. That's dangerous. Young man or young woman, that is dangerous. Young man, I implore you to find young men and women that think like you. A young woman, I implore that you try to find young women and young men that think like you. Find people that you can have connections with. But first, you got to learn to love people and you got to drop your guard. So, with these 5 steps, go out into the world and try to find people that you think you can connect with. If there's people in your class, put down your phone, look them in the eyes, and try to start a conversation. It's going to be awkward, it's going to be weird, or join your local church. I know churches, when you get members together, when you get membership together, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Open up to people in your life that you already have, to your siblings, to your parents, to the current friends that you have, or the few friends that you have. Talk to people at your job. Talk to people at your church. Talk to people at your school, at your job. Join something. Join an MMA class, bruh. Do something. Don't expect people to just fall in love with you after the first social interaction. But if you could make one connection, you can make another and another, and it just keeps going until you may have a lasting friendship. That's how you get rid of loneliness. Basically, this whole time, I've been teaching you that we have lost connection. And because we have lost connection, we have become more lonely. Yeah, and that sun is nice. I love the sun. All right. So, just to conclude all my thoughts, there are a litany of reasons why we have become more lonely. But the bottom line is, our society has limited connection. Technology limits connection, infrastructure limits connection, your social experiences limit your social connection, etc., all the other things I listed. But there are ways to build connection back. They just take courage and risk, but there's high reward. It's worth having friends. It's not good to be lonely. I never said it's not good to be alone. There will be time periods in your life where you'll be alone, but it is dangerous to be lonely. It is bad to be lonely. And when you feel lonely, I encourage you. Oh, this freaking wind. I implore you, when you feel lonely, cry out to the living God. Cry out to God. He will hear you, and He will make a way where it seems to be no way. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, I ask that you do all the YouTuber things, like, subscribe, hit the noti bell, comment, please. I actually read your comments, and I want to hear how loneliness has affected you and where we can see instances of loneliness in society. Are there any things that I missed? Any solutions that have worked for you? I just want to hear these things. And if you try these things out, tell me your experience with them. I want to hear them. All right? Thank you so much for watching. Script, baby.